Audio Jungle.
Herschel fatal crash victims identified. Police have identified the two persons who died in a crash along the main road in Herschel, Portmore, St. Catherine on Saturday morning. Those killed are both residents of St. Catherine and have been identified as Javon Martin, otherwise called Washi, a taxi driver of Portmore address, and 17-year-old Ryan Tolo, otherwise called Dumpling, of Toss Meadows in Spanish Town. Reports are that around 3 a.m., Martin was driving a Honda Shuttle motor vehicle along the roadway when it collided with a BMW motor vehicle. Both cars were extensively damaged, and the occupants of both vehicles sustained injuries. The white BMW crashed into a utility pole. Both maids were assisted to Spanish Town Hospital for treatment, where Martin and Tolo were pronounced dead. A 12-year-old is reported among those injured in the accident.
These vehicles were heading from Elsha towards Putmore. The fact that both vehicles were speeding. The both vehicle got out of control. One collided in a post, run off the road into a precipice. And one youngster, he was pronounced dead on the scene. There was also another passenger from the BMW motor vehicle. He too was flung from the vehicle and died on the spot. There are other persons who were in both vehicles who were injured, and they were transported to the Spanish Town Hospital where they were treated and are still being observed at this time. Over 10 persons were injured from both vehicles.
Trapped in turmoil. A psychiatrist is convinced that it will take a structured approach to reshape attitudes to violence locally, given the increased dissemination of graphic and brutal content on video sharing platforms. I believe that generations can become desensitized to various things and the norms of society can change, and that can be as a result of frequency which particular things are encountered. Consultant forensic psychiatrist and head of the psychiatry department at the University Hospital of the West Indies, Dr. Clayton Sewell told reporters. He explained that Jamaicans repeatedly exposed to violence as content and its reality has had lasting effect on the Caribbean country. The comment shared by a social media user under a video of a young man who witnessed a shootout between a now deceased suspect and law enforcers and who described the firefight as a very good shootout were evidence of an underlying public concern. The nation that glorifies violence, said one social media. Another commented, "This is very sad. The fact that he's immune to this speaks a lot. May God have mercy on our people." Another user added, reading comments about how people find this entertaining and funny. "Have you listened to the music lately?" Dr. Twell said the concern is not unfounded. With violence, you can have somebody who is traumatized by exposure to this may cause them to develop conditions like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and a feature of that is that it can become a numb to emotional stirring situation. But even outside of having PTSD, what you'll find is that the body can tolerate so much of a response before it then protects itself, becomes again numb to certain experiences, and becomes desensitized, Dr. Sewell noted. This, he explained, is not unusual but rather a normal reaction to persistent stimulation. If you are continually exposed to a significant emotional event, like for example violence and seeing images of it, that may have the effect of causing you now to no longer respond in the same emotional way that you would have. Therefore, shock or horror may no longer be this, he argued. Though social media may have exacerbated the issue, Dr. Sewell said it's one of the deep-seated in Jamaican culture. I think in the Jamaican culture, however, given how violent a society we've been in for many years now, the social media is an add-on to the people seeing things in their communities, in their household, et al. So we have been in a crisis for some time requiring definitive, deliberate action to address the issue of violence and what, as a society, we're exposed to, what we condone, he added. Dr. Swell is one of the few qualified forensic psychologists in the country and regularly deals with violent offenders who are suspected of being mentally ill. He explained to reporters that unfortunately, violence characterizes the way same Jamaicans express their emotions. We justify violence in various ways, so we'll say, well, the person did something wrong first, and therefore we justify enacting in the particular way. We justify violence in response to things, whether it be disrespectful or whether it be some relatively minor infraction. People have become comfortable with that, he noted. He added that it was swept into the music and in the first choice for some people to end disputes versus using other methods of mediation. Correcting this will take significant work, the doctor explained. Going forward, it requires all of us to be on the same page in terms of trying to change our nation, he advised, noting that people who are traumatized from an experience of violence can be re-traumatized and can become even more hostile in response to perceived wrongs, the psychiatrist added. If we reduce the recurrence and occurrence of the exposure to violence in crime and trauma generally, that is one step. Secondly, we need to educate our population about other avenues to deal with a dispute, to deal with a difference of opinion, or anything wrong that we think might have been done. You'll find if people are improvised and they're living on top of each other, they are more likely to have disputes and have violent encounters, the consultant forensic psychologist added. He recommended that social media and online usage for children be properly monitored. He also proposed that parents approach discipline early and with care. Clarendon truck driver allegedly intercepted with 1,500 pounds of ganja in St. Thomas charged. The truck driver, who was intercepted by the police allegedly transporting 1,500 pounds of compressed ganja in St. Thomas on Wednesday, has now been charged. Fabian Watson, 33, of Mount End in Rock Rivers, was on Friday charged with possession of ganja, dealing in ganja, trafficking ganja, taking steps preparatory to export ganja, possession of criminal property, and conspiracy. The police say the ganja has an estimated street value of approximately 4.7 million. A date is to be set for him to appear in court. The police reported that about 10:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 1, the Special Operations Team of the Firearms and Narcotics Investigations Division, supported by the St. Thomas Police, intercepted a truck driven by Watson on Church Street in Morant Bay. According to the police, a search of the vehicle uncovered more than 150 parcels of compressed ganja, along with over $180,000. Acting Senior Superintendent Patrick Rowe, Director of FIND, stated that the division continues to collaborate with both local and international stakeholders to apprehend individuals involved in drug trafficking. These operations focus not only in intercepting drugs, but also on cutting off the financial support of criminal networks that we use drug trafficking to facilitate broader criminal activities, stated Rowe. I also wish to remind Jamaicans that ganja is not just a harmless plant. It is being used in the dangerous gun for drugs trade. Guns are being taken into our country to commit murders, he added. The public is encouraged to report illegal firearms and narcotics by contacting FED at 876-923-6184, the National Intelligence Bureau at 811, Crime Stop at 311, the police emergency number at 119, or the nearest police station. To subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.